draft syllabus was uploaded in the mid-February, and the public was given 15 days time to read and to comment and to suggest. And we did not even know about it. So I don't think anybody was consulted in the entire process of making the syllabus. There was absolutely no need, because in 2019-20, the syllabus was completely revised in Delhi University. There was absolutely no need to revise it in this manner at this juncture. New draft syllabus is, including its reading list and the rubrics that has included, is completely outdated. It's a fossil. If you look at the reading list, most of the readings are from readings were published in 1950s or 40s or even 30s and 20s. And those readings are basically for the students of history of historiographical interests. We read them or we prescribe them in order to understand what was happening in the field of history writing in 1920s and 30s and 40s and 50s. So this is not the kind of syllabus that was required at this time. It's not a 21st century syllabus. It's the early 20th century syllabus. If you read the initial pages of this draft syllabus, you will realize that the makers of this syllabus is thoroughly confused. They want to instill scientific temperament also, and they, at the same time, they also want them not to have that temperament. So this confusion is always there in the minds of the professors who have formulated. But then I have doubt that this syllabus has been prepared by people who are really historians, because historians will never prepare this kind of syllabus, which is rooted in early 20th century or late 20th century, or they will not be focusing on the recent researches that have gone into the making of history as a discipline. So there is a confusion. I mean, they have not given enough thought to the structure of the syllabus of a history, of a discipline like history. These are anachronistic, to say the least. I mean, the way history as a discipline has developed in the later part of 20th century, in the early part of 21st century, it's against all those developments. We do not teach our students to be subjective. We try to instill that kind of knowledge in them so that they can move towards objectivity. Absolute objectivity is not possible, but then we always try to teach in a way that students can reach nearer to objectivity. But then all these things that have come into the syllabus points towards the fact that objectivity is not the goal anymore. So students will always be at a disadvantage when it comes to international level of research or understanding of history. This is a major shift. They know, but they are aware of this fact that archaeology, anthropology, sociology, all these subjects which historians utilize in interpreting the past, they question the texts on various bases. So they have concentrated on texts and removed the uses of archaeology, anthropology, and sociology and the theories related to it, so that students know only the text. And they, in later years, they will be unable to collate materials from other social sciences. They will be at loss. In the earlier syllabus, the focus was on processes of development or historical processes. But now the entire focus is on political history. Not even political history, it's dynastic history. If you look at other papers, it's all about dynasties, their administrative systems, and other aspects related to the dynastic histories. So the processes, social processes, and other aspects of history are completely neglected. They have in fact removed deliberately all those points which will instill the critical aspect of a curriculum or a syllabus into the students. The caste is not there, untouchability is not there, gender is not there, and these are, environment is not there. These are the aspects on which historians now are focusing. But then all these are not part of the syllabus. So this is like, and also the recent developments in the division of Indian history into many periods is not considered. They are still into the colonial era, ancient, medieval, and modern, as well as dynastic history. So all the works that historians have done in the last 50, 60 years is of no use in the current syllabus. That means the researches done in the last 50 years is wasted. We do not gain anything, and we will not give anything to the students. It will be again rote learning in terms of pedagogical practices. On the aspect of Saraswati, adding Saraswati to Indus Saraswati civilization, I can only say that not enough work has been done on this issue. And naming a culture, archaeological culture, on the basis of the sites or the river valleys is a very old tradition. It's clearly related to the new nationalism of this government. So it has no value. Mahabharata and Ramayana or other texts, Buddhist texts, Jain texts, have always been taught as sources of history. We generally teach students to look at these texts critically and not accept any and everything at their face value, whatever has been stated in the text. But mentioning them as marvels of Indian culture is just overstating all these aspects. All cultures have great texts. So these should remain as sources, but then this shouldn't be done on the exclusion of other aspects of our sources. For example, archaeology, anthropology, and theories and studies related to them. So they have to be seen in the context of recent literary studies or archaeological studies or anthropological studies. And this again is the return of 1980s or 90s, when Mahabharata and Ramayana were considered as great piece of literature. They are, no doubt about that, but they have limited value for historians. See, in the last 30 or 40 years, one major change that was brought in the historical researches was focus on inscriptions and coins. So by removing most of the portions of early medieval period, they have removed the utility of these major sources. So people will be, now students will be taught only on the basis of textual references and not on the basis of the recent researches done on the basis of inscriptions and coins and other kinds of sources, other kinds of archaeological materials. For example, the buildings or the pieces of art, they will not be studying that part of history. Those are rubrics in different kind of sources, different kind of papers, other papers, not in the main history honors paper. Everything has been included. Everything has been ignored. Everything that we stand for as teachers of history and that we want students to study, nothing has been included. It's all dynastic history. What we always talk about processes of change. Now that aspect is gone. We will be teaching how many horses, how many elephants Chandragupta Maurya had. And we will not be talking about the social changes or urbanization in its totality. So students of history will be at loss, and that will remain with them forever. I mean, we should protest this, not only because somebody else has prepared it, but because this is not the kind of syllabus that we would like our students to study. See, each syllabus has to be an improvement on the previous one. Otherwise, no point in revising the syllabus. But here we have a syllabus which will take us some 100 years back in terms of historical knowledge or historical knowledge production, or the teaching learning process. So this is a very sad kind of situation for us, that we have to deal with this kind of syllabi. This is very sad, because this syllabus is ultimately unacceptable. We had revised it a year back and included most recent books and readings in our syllabus, and all the works of 2 years, the labor of 2 years is wasted if this is accepted. And I hope the teachers and students resist this.